Tonight on the Black Channel, we're taking a look at the face of mass shootings in America here, and yes, it has happened again. At an In-N-Out Burger, you can see the suspect is just going around roaming. I mean, this isn't like he was after somebody. He was just after anybody walking. Just you die because you're there. The idea that this is the face of random violence, this is the face of random slaughter. There is a war going on here to control your mind in this regard. And I want to go ahead and cover this because it arrived just in time for the news. None other here. And they have identified him earlier today. Chad Williams, ID'd as Idaho In-N-Out gunman after 2 killed, 7 injured mass shooting. Police have identified the suicidal gunman who killed 2 people and wounded 7 others when he opened fire at an Idaho In-N-Out. Chad Williams, 24 years old, went on a deadly rifle-wielding rampage at the In-N-Out Burger in Twin Falls on Saturday afternoon before killing himself with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Police Chief Matthew Hicks said at a press conference today. 2 people, including a heroic armed citizen and an off-duty state trooper, actively engaged the shooter by returning fire towards him, Hicks told reporters. Williams acted alone. What? And his family has been fully cooperative in the investigation. So before you even think of asking any questions, just understand a lone gunman. A motive behind the shooting remains unknown. I'm bringing this up for a reason. I'm bringing this up for a reason because you see, when you went to go type in about the Idaho mass shooter, you immediately start getting stuff like this from the usual white supremacists. This was yesterday. They immediately went to work, as you can now tell, with zero information. And this is not accidental. Please understand, white supremacists have lost. They lose the whole time. They get used to losing. So now they just said, man, screw it. We can't win this. Just lie. Donald Trump. Just lie. Who cares what the facts are? Oh, damn, we lost again. Well, just go lie. Go say it was somebody else. We know it's a lie. Get folk running in another direction. And by the time that the truth comes down and falls on you like a 20-ton brick, hopefully you have added enough distraction and enough misdirection that nobody will remember, well, that blew up in their faces. I just want to show you how desperate they are and how shameless they are. This guy right here, and this is another thing right here, these folks, I mean, when you sit up and start talking about white mass shooters, all of a sudden these people start telling you about the need to delineate. All of a sudden it becomes about delineation. All of a sudden, oh, he's not white, he's Croatian. What? Did you get that? Yeah, I mean, they get upset at us, but by the way, when it comes to white folk there, as soon as you say, hey, about these white mass shooters, well, he's Croatian. What? This guy right here is one of these Twitter white supremacists and whatnot. Just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind because when you go over to his page by that post, the Twin Falls, Idaho In-N-Out shooter was Croatian. He said that yesterday. They responded 21 hours ago. Nope, according to this photo, he's from Bosnia and his name is Amir Manzik. It's a Muslim name. So here they are trying to make him anything other than Anglo. This was them yesterday, completely going to work to lie. Somebody called him and said, complains about blacks all day, but can't do basic research by knowing this isn't the shooter. So he sits up here and puts up this picture of the two side by side. This was Chad Williams yesterday, and then claims that the guy on the right is the same person. This is how shameless and desperate they are to clog up and pollute algorithms so that if you go looking, you're supposed to go looking and find, oh, he's not white, he's Croatian. Oh, he's Muslim. And it's like, none of the above. That's Bosnian. It could be, or even Serbian. Odds are he's Croatian. No, the odds are he's white. The odds are he's white. They're very upset about these things. They're very upset about them because, you see, they understand that this is a huge problem. You see, whenever they can talk about Chicago, they want to try to make those into mass shootings, which it isn't, but they want to try to make that into that. When something like this takes over the news, takes over the news cycle, overshadows everything. It's a quiet weekend, not a whole lot going on, and here comes the neighborhood madman, like it always is. And they go immediately to work to let you know that this is not about facts. It's not about public safety. This is about a white supremacist race war narrative where they're trying to reframe themselves as victims, and that they're not the problem, and certainly that they are not the face of random mass violence. That's why this is a huge problem for them. Taking over the airwaves, and you are squarely centered once again as the face of mass violence. That's why there's a problem. And you know it's a big, big problem here, because you see there are other folks who are upset about it here. Oh, man. Your good friend Matt the Weenie Walsh. Oh, Matt Walsh here. I'm telling you, boy, it's rough on him right now. It is rough on him because, you see, Matt had posted something, and it wasn't so great for him. It really wasn't. He really needed things to go a certain way, and it really didn't go like that for him. Because, you see, Matt is real mad right now. He's real mad. He's real angry because he's got to be up his bonnet because it's happened again. The court system is actually dealing with the perpetrators, and they're actually going to the source. And you would figure that Matt Walsh would be glad, and yet he's mad as hell. Well, what's he mad about? Now, this was Matt Walsh a couple days ago. This is right before, the day before the In-N-Out shooting. This is Matt Walsh upset because a judge sentenced Colin Gray's father, the Appalachia High School mass shooter, Colt Gray. Well, a court has sent his father, sentenced him to 15 years in prison. And Matt is mad as hell about this.
It matters that you didn't seek to harm anyone. It matters that you didn't pull a trigger. As I indicated, all of your crimes are a form of criminal negligence. None of them require mandatory prison. I don't have a concern that you're going to commit future crimes. You're 55 years old and you have no criminal history. You didn't intend to commit these crimes that you've been convicted of. But the loss here is profound. But I still have to distinguish your acts from the malignant heart and the acts that Colt Gray committed upon the Appalachia School. For each of the murders in the second degree, I'm sentencing you to 15 years in confinement concurrent with one another. For each of the involuntary manslaughters, I'm sentencing you to 10 years confinement concurrent. For each non-merging cruelty to children, I'm sentencing you to 10 years in confinement concurrent. For each non-merging reckless conduct charge, I'm sentencing you to 12 months confinement concurrent. This is an aggregate sentence of 15 years in prison. I'm going to have the sentence filed presently. I want to advise you, I'm required to advise you that you have certain post-conviction appellate rights. You have the right to a court-appointed attorney if you need one, to file a direct appeal or a motion for new trial. Those have to be filed within 30 days of today's date.
So as you can hear, the judge hit him with the Suge Knight. He said, I'm so glad you old and rickety. Get on up in here so you can hold these 15 years right quick. And folks, you would figure for a mass shooter parent, these people are always blaming the culture, blaming the culture, blaming the culture. Here comes Matt Walsh, and he's madder than the devil on a good Sunday. He said, this is a penalty reserved for white parents specifically. No inner city black mom or deadbeat black father will ever be arrested, much less sentenced to 15 years in prison for the savage crimes committed every single day by their kids.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell.
Yeah, y'all, Matt drags us into this. He doesn't deal with the problems of his community. He doesn't deal with the issues of his people. He doesn't give a damn about what's happening to white people. He's like, who gives a damn if we're out here shooting up everything, as Clint Eastwood said in Unforgiven, every man, woman, and child, everything that's ever walked or crawled. I figure I done killed everything that's walked or crawled. And old Matt Walsh is like, well, yeah, so what? And he immediately pivots to talk about a completely unrelated party. He doesn't give a damn about the school that got shot up. He's not focused on the school that got slaughtered. I mean, he's just tiptoed right over their dead bodies and said, excuse me, gotta practice white supremacy. So he is using the dead bodies of dead white children and saying, we will take your martyred sacrifice to advance the cause, not of sparing the future lives of white children, but of advancing white supremacy. And your deaths are just the necessary toll that has to be paid in order to advance the cause. We have nothing to do with this. We are completely immaterial to this, unrelated. And yet, he sees a white mass shooting committed by white people and immediately comes to talk about us. Now, I want you to notice something right here. He doesn't even condemn the judge. I need you to understand that. He doesn't condemn the judge. Well, the judge is a white man. The judge is a white man. So you see, he doesn't have the option of going at the folks he needs to go after. Time for him to do that, and he gets quiet. We're not saying anything. Well, yeah, you'd have to say that. And that's not the kind of narrative he wants to write right there, because how do you do that? I mean, you can't call them a bunch of liberals. This is a judge in Georgia, a red state. You can't call this a blue state issue. You can't say this is a blue state issue, that these are lib judges. These are liberal judges and progressive judges and against law and order. As a matter of fact, this is the definition of law and order. And just like January 6th, all of a sudden, all the white supremacists who claim that they're all obsessed and concerned about law and order immediately spin on a dime And all of a sudden, they're telling you to hell with law and order, that law and order is now the problem. Why isn't he sitting here just cheering about this and talking about the merits of it? Why doesn't he simply discuss the merits of why this is correct to do? Why doesn't he just talk about the merits of this and just talk about just that case? Well, because this is a L. You don't have any black mass shooters shooting up the schools. This is an L. So you see, this is specifically an issue that only reflects on him and his community. And he does not want that to be the issue, because you see, when you go to back to back to back to back to back to back to turn around, and every time you look up, they are the face of mass indiscriminate slaughter, then obviously the next logical conclusion is, okay, what do we do about this issue with them? His job is to deflect and distract and to tell you there is no issue, we're not a problem, doesn't matter what we do, always focus on punishing black people, and we have white privilege up to and including the right to slaughter. And the idea that you can have a white kid and white parents, and what he's upset about is that this is basically an indictment of the white culture in that house, and Matt can't stand it. You have the system holding the white family culture responsible. That's what he does not want to get raised in the national consciousness. And remember, I've told you all, the media has been on a campaign for 2 centuries to make sure that you do not discuss whiteness. You can discuss blacks, you can discuss black divorce, you can discuss black single children, you can discuss black single moms, you can discuss black unemployment. We don't talk about whites. We say America and American. We don't say whites. White folk don't exist. Do not discuss white people. When you talk about race, you discuss it only with blacks as a negative. But you do not discuss whites at all, and you damn sure never, ever discuss whites with a negative connotation. If there is a problem in society, the best and most you can look for is to say that there's a problem, but you do not say it is a white perpetuated problem. Oh, now for black folk, you do that all day. But for whites, it doesn't matter how many people get killed, how many bodies hit the floor, no matter how many folks get bombed, burned, maimed, poisoned by the thousands. It doesn't matter what they do. You never center that as a white pathology or a white issue. You don't even get to say the word white. Your news networks will not allow you to lead with the words white. You just get, at best, you get to say his name, and maybe you'll get to show his face, but you do not get to say that this is a white issue. Now, if you're black, oh, well, we'll go ahead and talk about that. Hold big round tables. What about black on black crime? What about white on white crime? What about white random? What about white mass shooting, white slaughter? What about that? Because you see, you don't see a bunch of black folk running around talking about, hey, we need to keep all these automatic weapons. You don't hear us saying that. See, that's what disarms them, pardon the expression. We're not out here demanding that you have to hold on to all these automatic weapons. So you see, that wouldn't hurt us nearly as much. And what we're showing you is that, yeah, you only want those automatic weapons for one reason: to fulfill your mass indiscriminate slaughter culture. And the visuals, people, I'm hammering this home for you, the visuals, the optics of white people being held accountable systemically. That's the problem that they have. See, that's supposed to be reserved for black folk. When you're black, they're supposed to be able to come and arrest your whole family. Remember? When you're black, they're supposed to be able to come and arrest your whole family. Come and arrest the whole building. Hell, come and arrest the whole block. Stop and frisk. Remember? Now, let's be very, very clear here. Matt the Weenie. to that noodle neck Nazi. Matt, they weren't convicted under non-existent laws. They were convicted under the laws that white supremacist trash like you promoted, cheered. So you see, it's not like the judge made up a new law. That law been there. These laws have been on the books. You're the ones who fought to erect a prison industrial complex where literally anything and everything that you do, that it is literally, I want you all to understand this, it is a proven fact of jurisprudence. It is literally impossible for you to function in America today without committing at least 3 infractions of the law.
What? Damn! What?
If you walk out your door and go somewhere today, on average, you have committed at least 3 infractions of the law in some way. Now, the whole goal of that was to make it where if you're a black person and you proceed to leave your house, there's something that you've done that we can indict you for. To justify harassing you, there's something we can use. No matter how petty, no matter how irrational. Now they're looking up and you have built this gulag archipelago of catacombs of traps and snares and trap doors that you simply can't escape from. And now he's complaining because I'm white and I say so didn't work, and you are subject to the laws that you made. You shouldn't be saying a damn word about black folk. You're supposed to be concerned about upholding the law. And he's completely unconcerned about the laws that he made, that he promoted, that he spearheaded. And he's not upset because the law isn't being enforced. He's angry as hell because the law is being enforced. That's what he's mad about, that the law is being enforced. Man, these white supremacists are wicked little whiny, childish little bastards, ain't they? You go down to his comments section. You're so wrong, Matt. Easy to verify, but it would ruin your race baiting. Mom of 6-year-old accused of shooting teacher. Y'all remember that little black kid pleads guilty to felony child neglect. And this Matt had to sit up here and, thank you for proving my point. I didn't even know about this example, and now I see that I was even more right than I realized.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Did you all see that? Thanks for proving my point. I didn't even know about this example. Yeah, because you're a white supremacist. And you're an idiot. And now that I see that, I was even more right than I realized. This woman was convicted of child neglect. She was not convicted of being an actual accessory in the shooting itself, because she wasn't. The shooter in this case, her son, a 6-year-old, by the way, y'all, a 6-year-old. And she was given 2 years in prison as opposed to 15 for the father of the original post. The next person says, although I agree with the premise of your complaint, this is the first that I agree with. The dad knew of his son's mental issues and researched psychiatrists for troubled kids, etc. Found a shrine to prior school killers and knew the FBI came to their home for prior school threats by the kid. Yet after all that, he bought him the gun. If you know your, proud American, unproud grammar, if you know your kid has made threats and believe him to be in need of mental help, you don't put a gun in his hand. It's almost as if he wanted him to do it. So now you all have context of what really happened. And isn't it amazing that Matt didn't put any of that in its context? Well, of course not. And we saw the same thing with Ethan Crumley, remember? This is why Matt is upset and angry, because remember, last time I covered this, go back to my archive, when Ethan Crumley's parents were convicted of the same thing. Matt is mad as hell because these parents, who just so happen to be white, are enabling mass shootings and being held responsible as accessories. Because you see, Matt, the white supremacist weenie, and anybody who's seen him, he's scruffy with that crazy beard. And he looks even more dorkish and weenie-ish without the beard, which is why he put the beard on, because he's trying to conceal as much of his face as he possibly can. Don't believe me, you can go look up pictures of him. He's trying to conceal as much of his face as he possibly can. As Churchill said, he's a humble man who has much to be humble about. But folks, Ethan Crumley's parents did the same thing, remember? Why, they told their son, just make sure you don't get caught. That was their attitude about it. And notice, Matt never did a program to discuss their attitudes, the culture. He's never done a program. Megyn Kelly's never done a program so that we can all sit down and have a conversation about culture in the white home. Let's just take out one day here to have a discussion about culture in the white home. You got to understand, when you're losing, that's when you start becoming unhinged. Dr. Laura Schlesinger, Dog the Bounty Hunter, Paula Dean. When you're losing, you become more unhinged. This is why Matt goes around defending white supremacists, calling folks nigger, because that's how far gone and how defeated he is and how low he is. Do you realize what a low life you have to be to sit up here and be upset that a guy who has a son with mental problems saw all the evidence that he was a danger, FBI them into the damn house, and then you go off and go buy him a gun? Do you realize how sick you have to be upset over that? That individual's being punished. Do you know how sick you have to be? That you instead want to try to change the subject. We are talking about the only thing that matters, the culture in your homes. And as soon as something like this, something so horrendous occurs, all of a sudden he tells you, let's change the subject. Let's change the subject now. That's what you do when you're losing. When you're losing, you want to hurry up and change this subject. You don't want to dwell on this, because the more you dwell on it, the more you flesh it out, the more damnation it puts on you. The more damnation it puts on you. Now, please understand, there's a reason why you can shut folk up with this kind of stuff right here. And that's why I'm walking you all through this so you can see what in the world's happening. And by the way, for folks who are prepared for it, folks, it doesn't take a lot. These white supremacists are not geniuses. They're just propagandist idiots, buffoons and clowns. The slightest pushback knocks them down. They rely on white supremacist millionaires and billionaires to fund them. But it's not because they're geniuses. And there's a reason why they only talk to themselves, because if they do venture out to try to say stupid stuff like Matt did, it's very easy to go ahead and debunk it. The fella responded to him, I'm struggling to see how I proved your point. You said no non-white parent, quote, will ever be arrested. Are you denying that this black mom was arrested? Debunked. I don't like to say cooked, but debunked. It's over. Forget about it. Nothing you can do except feel the flames. Then they come back lying here some more. She wasn't arrested for his crime. She was arrested for her crime. The guy in the OP, original post, was arrested for the crime of his son, even though he wasn't involved. We just explained how he was involved and culpable under the law. We just explained that. They came right back and lied again. So what they're telling you is that, remember, their job is to try to clog the algorithm. They're hoping that everybody is such short attention span that they're not really paying attention. That's the real point. They're just hoping you're not really paying attention. And then they just come back and lie some more. Which is, of course, the first sign that notifies everyone that you're losing. Very correct here. I think he was involved. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been charged with anything. He did do something, the same as the mother in the other case, which we already proved that's not the case. We already proved that. So just remember, they're here to lie to you. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I want you all to understand something. He posted this on July 31st, 2 days ago. The In-N-Out shooting happened yesterday, August 1st. Folks, in case you didn't notice, July 31st. Okay. Waiting to hear something. Y'all notice July 31st. July 31st. An hour ago. Isn't it amazing that Matt completely glossed over the latest mass shooting that just happened yesterday? Why, that's what I'm showing you all. Why, he was just so concerned about it 2 days ago. And yet 1 day ago, the news breaks everywhere and Matt doesn't have a word to say. Just like all these other events I've caught him in. All of a sudden he goes quiet. He wants to talk about trans kids t-shirts. Hey, Matt, what about the mass shooting? Since you were so ventilated about mass shootings and whites, hey, there's been another mass shooting involving whites. Can you spare a few moments for us to address that? These are cowards. I want you all to understand they're not on their way to being beaten. They've already been beaten. I want you all to be articulate so that when you speak into the algorithm and you speak into the space, make sure you're fully informed, debunk these things quickly because these folks know they're lying. Their job is to try to cloud the issues with as many lies as they can until nobody remembers, hey, by the way, the guy got sentenced because the boy had all these signs. He didn't help anybody, didn't warn anybody. FBI come to the house and then he goes and buys a gun. That's what he got sentenced for. He saw outrageous amounts of risk and then enabled it to get worse. What is Matt so upset and so angry over? He's upset and angry over the fact that he is watching in front of his eyes that there's a narrative he cannot defeat. He's trying to turn back the clock and turn back the hands of time. He's already tried the scumbag behavior, trying to rewrite the murder of Emmett Till. He's trying to rewrite that. He's trying to rewrite slavery. This is end-stage white supremacy. This is end-stage white supremacy. This is what you do when you don't have any strength left. You start groping for anything you desperately can to try to change the subject off for yourself. If you were smart, you would actually keep the subject on yourself, but what you're saying is, oh, it's not convenient to do that right now. Can we get a mulligan? You do not want white males to continue to be the face of mass shooting violence, random violence against random people. It's one thing if somebody came to a party of people that they know and started shooting in a place of folk that they know. But the idea that we are going to solidify in your heads that any random white male is a threat. I want you to understand what Matt is so angry about. That things like this have solidified. It's not on its way to doing it. It's already completed and accomplished. that you have solidified in the popular consciousness that any random white male is a deadly threat. That at any moment he can begin killing simply because he has walked into the room. Simply because he's pulled up in your driveway. Simply because he lives in your city, he constitutes a unpredictable, randomized, and inevitable deadly threat. At some point, he's gonna go off. At some point, he is going to go off. Well, all of a sudden, trying to create your white male hero myths, and then you're going to lionize white males simply for existing, that just goes out the window right there. I mean, boy, that's not what you were looking for. You don't want that to be the case. You don't want that to be the case at all. Not at all. We can go even further than that, by the way, Matt, because I want to make sure that we don't leave these things unturned. Because Matt would like for all of y'all to forget about that. He would very much like you all to forget about that. There's something else I want to go ahead and show you here. I want to go ahead and do that. Matter of fact, let me get up exactly what I want here. I don't want sideways, because these folks, y'all got to understand, they're real good for wanting to cover these things up and make sure you don't really see what happened, because they don't actually want that to be the subject that we talk about. Let me go ahead and remind y'all again. I think I can find from the Independent, because I want to show that to you here. You all remember it now. You're talking about Idaho, but there's more to it than that. There's more to it than that. Let me go ahead and pop this on your screens right quick. Okay, let me make sure they don't do anything stupid over here first. All right. Let me go ahead and throw this up on your screens right quick. Remember this story right here? This just happened also as well. This just happened here. A suspect who killed his wife and their 6 kids. Revealed to be American Heart Association VP who lost his job weeks earlier. The family's pets also died from fire and smoke exposure. Y'all, he took out the whole damn family and the pets. Now, you remember that there was this guy of questionable origin here in Shreveport, and he killed a bunch of his kids. You notice that this story right here, Matt doesn't have anything to say about this either. He doesn't have anything to say about this either. Ain't this strange, y'all? You have this guy who wipes out the whole damn family and the pets. Annihilates his whole family and the pets. And then shortly after, there's another one who's just here to kill anything in sight or that isn't. So, of course, when that becomes the narrative and that becomes the focus, you just become desperate and say, hey, change the subject. I don't care how bad it looks. I don't care if we got to lie. I don't care if we got to step on the bodies of dead children. Change this damn subject. You got back-to-back mass slaughters. Completely indefensible. Hell yeah, they want to change the subject. Because you see, these guys want to racialize everything. It's like, okay, let's go ahead and racialize this subject of why this is happening. Should we be afraid? Should we be concerned? And the most important thing of all, what do we do about it? Because you see, these guys want to racialize everything with black folk, which of course the next step is, okay, well, what's the policy that we're going to implement? Since you have identified an alleged problem, the next logical step now is, okay, well, what will be the public policy that we're going to implement now that you've identified a problem? This has become their pathology. Okay, well, now we have identified a problem. Well, Matt, shouldn't we be discussing what the policy will be toward this problem? And that's why his first step was to say, by the way, you're treating white parents unfairly. What about our white privilege? What? I know he shut up a high school, but what about our white privilege? We have the white privilege to murder the graduating class of 2024. We have the white privilege to come to your favorite burger shack and blow you and your family away. We have the white privilege to do that. As a matter of fact, ain't no MIBs. We weren't even here. We weren't even there. This didn't even happen. Take a look at Matt's timeline. This didn't even happen. It didn't even occur. He's terrified to death when you see this steady drumbeat happening here, especially over this summer. Donald Trump is the most popular president since chlamydia. What? And now you've got back-to-back incidents of this magnitude, of this atrocious nature occurring. He doesn't have anything he can give you there, because then we would have to focus on what is the problem with the white males. And let's be very, very clear. There are issues. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talked about that decades ago in the Phil Donahue program, and she was just as correct and prescient then as she would have been today. Rest in power, Queen. Just as correct today when she said that we have a mental health crisis among white people, and that as mental health professionals, the mental health community needs to get together to deal with this mass mental health crisis among white people. They are afraid they have a deep intrinsic fear, which has become their culture, of genetic annihilation. They have a fear of genetic annihilation. And that because of this intrinsic fear of genetic annihilation, they are promoting and enabling every form of debauchery and subhuman animalistic behavior that you can imagine in order to dominate everyone else around them by every means, including mass slaughter. And that needs to be dealt with, because the problem is, what do you do when the guns don't work anymore? What do you do when you don't have the ability to shoot your way out of this? For anyone who studies psychology, you understand that actually that is the bigger issue. Not so much that you've got weapons, but by the way, what happens when you realize that you cannot resolve your problem with a weapon? Now what? You can't murder and slaughter and kill your way out of this. When that method is denied to you, now what will you do? Well, maybe we'll just go and take out the whole damn family. Maybe we'll just go and blow all of them away. Maybe we'll just go do that. Remember? Which is what most white supremacists do. Remember? Chud the Builder went and attacked a bunch of white folk before he started running around at black folk. What do you do when you can't get to them? They start killing whoever is closest. And they will go after the most harmless. They'll go after the most helpless. And I would like to take this as a moment to connect these parallels, because I've talked about this before and I think it is intrinsic to do that. Take a look at this guy, y'all. This is a picture, just straight from, it's literally from TikTok. This is your typical married couple in America cheesing for the cameras. Does this fella look like he's gonna go murder his 6 children? That he's gonna kill this woman next to him and then is going to go kill his children and the family pets Does this guy look like he's getting ready to go do that? Or does he look like just the average dude sitting at Costco? Does he look like the average fella on the beach in Newport Beach? And what I'm saying is that not enough has been done to dig below the surface to check and see, okay, what is the real status here? What's the real status? What's really going on? Because what they're telling you is that, well, you can identify a mass shooter because he's going to be sagging his pants and throwing up gang signs. They don't want you to come to the conclusion that this is the face of mass violence and murder in America and the world. They do not want you all to come to the conclusion and the acceptance, and for people to, because this is where we are, that no, it's not some mystical gangbanger, hoodlum thug. Here's the murderous thug with his polo shirt and his styled hair and his white teeth on the beach there and whatnot, cheesing for the cameras. Oh, look at him, y'all. I mean, he's a Chad up there. He's got the salt and pepper hair, and she's just sitting over there with that half-hearted smile, because it's like, okay, in retrospect, when you take a look at her face, is she just mellow to be there, or is she terrified? Take a look at how much taller he is than she is. Take a look at how much bigger he is than she is. Is she just happy to be there, or am I the only one who sees a hint of maybe she's terrified? Because I do not believe for a second that there were no warning signs that this guy was capable of taking out the whole damn family. I don't think for a second he just woke up one day and y'all gonna die. I don't believe that for a moment. So you see, when we start saying, you know what? We need to start looking for these so-called straight-laced looking males. I mean, this guy right here, Chad, he looks like he's straight from an IT department at Facebook. And when you think about it for a few moments, Chad Williams and Matt Walsh, I mean, both of them look like they could work at IT at some Silicon Valley company, although Matt's not intelligent enough to even spell Silicon Valley, much less work there. But yeah, you take a look at these guys, them with the alt-right look or whatever. It's like, no, these guys right here, that this is the face of potential or accomplished mass slaughter and violence. That's what Matt's afraid of, because Chad Williams looks like he could be Matt Walsh's brother.
And deal with it.
That's what Matt's upset about. Matt's not posting that guy's face because the first thing people would say is, damn, Matt, you worrying about black folk. Meanwhile, the mass killers look just like you. Matter of fact, it looks like you two are related. No. We ain't changing the subject, Matt. Let's go back to the fact that you and this mass shooter, and he's just the latest because Ethan Crumley looks like he could have been your nephew. What? Ethan Crumley looks like he could have been Matt Walsh's nephew, and Chad Williams looked like he could be Matt Walsh's brother. And Matt Walsh, of course, has expressed murderous tendencies. Remember Donald Trump in Greenland, Donald Trump in Venezuela. So Matt Walsh has made light of and endorsed the killing and murder of people through, quote, imperial terms. So he's perfectly fine with state violence, which gives you a preview of the fact that, yes, everything in their world revolves around violence. Now, of course, Matt the Weenie would not do it himself. They'll only try to pump up others, but just realize what you're dealing with. And why it is that they're so angry that you have a situation like this happening, and instead of him focusing on white people, He's like, okay, I don't want to talk about white people at all. It's like, Matt, but I thought that was your favorite subject. Shouldn't we be talking about white people and what needs to be done? We can talk about resources for them. Well, here's the issue. You see, the white supremacists have conditioned society to say that the only resource that should be extended when you commit a crime is jail time. Now, they started moving the bar when it came to drugs. All of a sudden, okay, now it's time to mass incarcerate white people. Wait. Drugs are now a health issue. They're now not just a health issue, a public health issue, not a personal health issue. Drug use, now that it's time to mass incarcerate white people, opiates are not a personal drug use issue. Why? Opiates are now the community's problem. It's now a public health issue, not a personal failure. Well, but for us, you always say it was a personal failure, thus it's a crime, thus you're responsible for it. We're like, okay, now it's time to hold y'all responsible. No, we ain't doing that. Now it's a public health issue. Well, it's not a violent crime. Okay, well, now we found a violent crime, and guess what? He's right back to it again. Why are you punishing people for committing violent crimes? Matt Walsh is incensed and enraged. He wants to know, why are you punishing people for committing violent crimes? Why are you doing that? He's now angry and crying tears and upset that you're going to punish violent crimes. He endorses invading nations. Isn't that mass punishment of people totally uninvolved? He endorses invading innocent, non-aggressive, non-threatening nations. But he goes full white supremacist to defend your right to slaughter innocents. Subhuman scum and barbarians. So, of course, when he takes a look around and sees that, by the way, far from being deified, see, the whole point was to tell everybody that the problem is black males, and that we need to do is crack down on black males. We need to make the laws as oppressive as possible. We need to have an open air penitentiary. Black males are the problem. Black males are the threat. And the only thing that we need to do is, number one, deputize and empower every white male. The number one thing you have to do is deputize and empower every white male. Every white male needs to be deputized and armed so that he can perform his duties of oppressing black people at any and every opportunity in order to intimidate them and deprive them of their life and liberty. So the way he says to deal with things is, first and foremost, deputize every white male. And then next, do not question what they do. Well, the problem becomes that what you've tried to do is say that black men are the problem and black men are the face of violence and black men are the public threat. When you start seeing this parade of images, it's like, okay, well, that's not holding up very well. We have another issue to deal with here. And so you see, if you can't convince everyone that you are the hero simply because you're a white male, how do we give you those powers when we have now determined that you're actually the threat? That's the issue that Matt the moron has. Well, your little attempt to proselytize for white supremacy blows up in your face when everyone can turn their TVs and now they identify you not as a hero but as the threat. That's when he's afraid of. That's why he wants to change the subject. That's why, even though it's a white kid with a white family at a white school with a white mass shooting, he starts talking about black folk. That's the reason he wants to change that subject, because if you stop long enough and discuss this long enough, you're going to have to come up with some policies that rein in folk like him. And he's seen where this is blown up in his face. Now all he's doing is flailing and throwing a severe tantrum. But that's not going to fix it. So I want you all to know that Matt was defeated this weekend. You know he was defeated this weekend because he got quiet. Jason, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? I showed you before, but let me go ahead and show you again just to put it in this proper context for you. You'll notice that when he put up his original post, that was supposed to be a home run. He got millions of views, well, millions of interactions anyway. However, he gets disproven in 3.2 seconds, and then the first thing he starts doing is arguing against it. So you see, he had no problem coming back to argue against that, even though it blew up in his face still. It didn't work. He came back to argue that because he thought that he saw a way that he could use this incident. His original post was him being so sure that he could use this incident to promote white supremacy. The fact that he immediately got quiet after that when another mass shooting happened the very next day, he didn't see any way that he could use this. That's the problem. Matt didn't see a way he could use this. He didn't see how he could use this to promote the cause. He didn't see how he could put a spin on this to improve his argument. He didn't see how he could leverage this for the good of white supremacist society. He couldn't find a way to do it. So he sunk back into his trailer park home, hole in the wall. And now he's down among the worms and the beetles and the other vermin. And he's quiet because he can't use this. That's your proof that this was a straight up and down defeat. What scares him more is the normalization of the idea, because this is where we are now, the normalization of the idea that we will hold white people accountable for practicing mass slaughter. We will hold them accountable. He's reading the writing on the wall. Every victory fuels the next victory, but every defeat fuels the next defeat. You don't have groups of black parents that you can gather together for mass shootings at schools. You can't really do that. That's not a thing. Furthermore, here's the other issue, y'all. By the way, hey, Matt the moron, these wouldn't be black adolescents or teenagers either. You're talking about adults. Now, if you want to make it legal to gather up the parents of white adults, I'm all in favor of that too. You're going to find that to be just like all these other mass incarceration things. You're going to find that that's going to go a whole lot worse than your propagandistic little argument's going to be. When you actually get into the data, yeah, you don't want that any more than you wanted mass incarceration for drug users. You don't really want that. You don't really want to do that. Now, talk your garbage on Twitter in between, smoking meth. Okay. But you don't really want this to be leveraged on adults either. You don't really want that. Because you see, we can always go back to Kyle Rittenhouse and them. So you don't really want that. Going bad for him over there, man. Going bad. Folks, if they had the ability to use this to their advantage, they'd be using it. It was a loss. It was a loss. And they are now crying in their beer because they are witnessing that the solidification of who is the real threat. Who is the real threat in society? Some black kids or the random white male standing next to you. I mean, I'm talking about a white male wearing glasses. Not the white males looking like something from Breaking Bad. Not the white males sitting up here looking like something from Grand Theft Auto. Random white males wearing glasses, got their hair done, and he's a killer born. Now he's looking to kill everyone. What do you do then? What do you do then when you are the face of the problem? I guess you're getting ready to find out. However, you might disagree. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and throw up the link to the Zoom here in the chat room. As always, you are more than welcome to join us. If you'd like to go ahead and do that, that's perfectly fine. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out to Parnell Victor. They can't take the truth. You are absolutely correct about that, but they're going to have to take the truth. So that's the way that goes. Shout out to my man, Mr. Richburg. Thank you for your support here as well. We appreciate that. To Simmons, Rodney Scott, the best out of, who is that? Ebony Plumber, Tom Slick, One Thou 9014, and everybody else here who has contributed for tonight's program. Thank you very much for your support here. We appreciate that. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When we come back here, folks, by the way, chickens are coming home to roost. Chickens are coming home to roost. Stick with us here. You'll find out. This is the Black Channel.
Be the teacher, knowledge on the block. Got the kids learning, minds open like a lock. Books and skills from the east to the west. Bringing education, yeah, we're simply the best. Classes on fire, brains burning with desire. Innovation driving like a tire through the mire. Math, science, history, we got the whole range. Kids hitting new heights, teachers making a change. Used to be the teacher, stacking up the grades. Future bright shining, no need for no shades. Got the youth thriving, moving up the ladder. Smart and sharp, brains growing fatter. Lessons so lit, yeah, they stay in a blaze. Every mind sharp like a sword in the haze. Mr. B in the house breaking knowledge chains. Education kingpin, we repping the gains. Listen, be the teacher.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And oh man, what happens when your idols become your rivals? What happens when you get out there and you've been swimming white supremacists for so damn long and you thought this was going to be easy and you thought it was going to be simple? You thought it was going to be like that, and what happens when that's not what occurs? Then what? Jason, what are you talking about here? Anybody know this cat? Yeah. Well, this is odd. However, is it really? Is it really that odd? Asking for a friend. Is it really that odd? I mean, I thought this was your man's. All right, for those of you who don't know, during the pandemic, there were a bunch of internet coons and clowns who rose to prominence, calling themselves, red pill and all this stuff. And there are a bunch of non-whites. There was a bunch of non-whites, Andrew Tate and Myron Gaines, and this character is it was a bunch of non-whites sitting up there yucking it up with Nick Fuentes and Elon Musk and others. Yeah. Then, as I predicted, they all lost their card because white supremacy does not have a retirement plan. Not for you. And so now that they found themselves on the wrong side of their white supremacist allies, their allies eventually turned on them. So now these folks want to sound the alarm. And you see, I don't care if it's Candace Owens. I don't care if it's the Hodge twins. I don't care if it's, who was that other one with the baseball cap? I don't care who in the hell it is. When they get their damn wake-up call here, when they lose their in, and them folks let you know that we done with you. What was his name? Lucas? Yeah, what was his name? Lucas. No, Lucas. He used to be one of those PragerU Turning Point types. His name is Lucas. Now he wants to try to go in on the white supremacists, but it's like, okay, well, oh no, dude, we don't do that. We don't do that. Yeah, now after they lost their in, when they no longer could get any benefits, then they think they gonna become ultra pro-black or ultra white, anti-white supremacists all of a sudden. Y'all understand that right there. Once you shook hands with the devil, we ain't gonna have that. And let me be clear what the standard is. Okay, like I say, some of y'all, maybe you're new to this. I'm like, if you think that the stuff that Lucas has been posting in the last year or two, if you think that's the real him, you clearly were not aware of what he had been doing for the previous 5. So I really suggest that you dig into that and see about when he decided to go ahead and code switch and change up on him. So, no. But let me explain to you all what the standard is by which we do this. I'm not condemning these people for the rest of their lives because of a singular incident. That's not the way I play it. You might have been on the pipe. You might have been dealing with some issues or whatever. So I'm not going to condemn you for the rest of your life for one post, one tweet. However, when you've made a career of it, when you've got multiple months and multiple years, and you've just gone on and on and on, and every time, in the most heinous ways, you defended the murder of black children, black women. Whenever a black person is harmed, you're sitting there looking for the nearest group of white supremacists you can sit in the middle of. And you're their little black flunky defending whatever in the hell they've done. Yeah, that right there is what gets you condemned for life. Not because of something you did, one random incident on one random day. That ain't what gets you condemned. I'm condemning the folks who made a damn career of it, who went from one incident to another. They were dependable every day to attack black folk every day. Unarmed black people, the harming of black people. They sat there and grinned about it, smiled about it, sat next to Jack Posobiec and all the other white supremacists, Charlie Kirk and all the other white supremacists sat there next to them, sitting up there cheesing up with Nick Fuentes. Yeah, when you thought that you could get some clout off of them and get some benefits, that was perfectly fine. Now that these folk done turned on you, now that they've turned on you, all of a sudden you think you're going to flip the script and use our terminology. How can you condemn Elon Musk as a white supremacist when you love white supremacists? It doesn't go well. It doesn't go well. You go down into the comments section, and as you can see, the support isn't as strong as, oh man, the support's not as strong as you might have hoped and thought it would be. This is why you have to be an agent of justice. This is why you have to be a decent, honorable human being. Because you see, when you are actually a decent, honest, honorable human being, you don't give injustice a pass because you're sick and whacked out and got childhood trauma issues or whatever. When you're a decent person who believes in justice, you don't give white supremacy a pass. You don't give barbarism a pass. You don't make up excuses to harm people. It's despicable to be the Ann Coulter types because you have to defend the harming of little children and unarmed elderly people and mass slaughter of little kids. That's what it means to be these folk. And you knew what they were the whole time. So when your inevitable day of reckoning comes, and then folks put you on the roadside for pickup, and that white supremacy is finally done with you, you don't get to double back and condemn them. You don't get to do that. Oh, Officer Tatum tried that, remember? When Jake Shields was going at him and calling him a coon, remember? Yeah, I did a whole program about that. Officer Tatum, he tried to talk about racism. We shut that down. By the way, not only did we shut it down, the white supremacists he had been so cool with, they let him know, hey, dude, black folk ain't got your back. Remember? Rabbi Shmuley, when he had that debate on, was that Pierce Morgan with Candace Owens, he sat there and told old Sambo Candace to her face, black folk don't even like you. Black folk are not going to defend you because of how bad they know you are. I did that program also, playing him saying that. I'm like, oh, he knows there's not going to be any marches or protesting or anybody canceling him. It's like, you have no black support. He told her right to her face in front of Pierce Morgan, you have no black support. They're not coming to your rescue. They don't fool with you. So that means I can sit here and do you how I'm going to do you. Because I know you ain't got no backup. You don't have any backup. It's just going to be you and me. I'm a dog walk you up in here. Brandon Tatum got out there. Jake Shields, their fellow white supremacist, he thought he was their Negro pet. And Jake Shields told him, black folks say, I didn't call you a coon. Black folk called you a coon.
What? Damn!
Jay Shields told him, don't get mad at me. I'm not the one said you're a coon. Black folks said you're a coon. I just agree with them. They said you're a coon, and I'm just agreeing with what they said. Man, folk who deny that racism exists, they deny white supremacy exists, and what it shows you is they're not dumb, they're just liars. Please, you can't have mercy or sympathy for them because they're not dumb, they're not ignorant, they're not unknowing, they're just liars. And you know that they're liars because the second that these white supremacists practice racism against them, all of a sudden they start yelling about racism. Well, I thought racism was you don't be a victim, Candace. Hey, Candace, stop volunteering to be a victim. Stop trying to make yourself a victim, Candace. Stop trying to make yourself a victim, Officer Buck Dancing Tatum. Stop trying to make yourself a victim. Stop whining. Well, when they went in on him, all of a sudden, he's a victim of racism. But there were no victims of racism before the white supremacists started going in on him. There were no victims. All the rest of y'all were lying. Y'all were lying. There's a reason why when you see things like the case down there in Florida, or the woman who defended herself in the parking lot of Walmart, there's a reason why the white supremacists are angry. There's a reason why they're mad about these things. There's a reason why, because in the Trump era, they're actually witnessing as everything fell apart in real time. This is what happened when we allowed them to run everything. It fell apart in real time. And they are now very, very afraid and very, very scared for the future. They're very afraid and very scared for the future because now they're very worried about what's going to happen next. They don't have that stronghold like they used to have. And so I'm doing the necessary housekeeping to remind you all, we are not going to forget about the folks who did that. Everybody who did that, I don't care about your mental or emotional issues. If you did that, we documented that, and do not try to bring your ass back over here. That is a one-way street. You're not ever going to be welcome here again. And you don't get to complain about white supremacy and racism. You don't even get to say the word white supremacy. There is no white supremacy, remember? Just a bunch of whining niggas. There is no white supremacy, so quit whining. Now that white supremacy is putting boot to ass, no, quit whining. See, there's the real difference right there. Back in the old baby boomer civil rights era, niggas could sit up here and be coons half the year. And then when things didn't go their way, then they start complaining about racism the other half of the year. We're a new generation. Ain't no playing both sides of the fence. Let me explain that to everybody. You get one switch up per lifetime. One. If you've been a coon, you get the opportunity to switch up one time. You don't get this, that, and you're getting flaky in gray areas and I'm feeling, no. You get one switch up per lifetime. Assuming, of course, that you have not made a career of it, thus you are ineligible. You get one switch up per lifetime. After that, that's it. You're done. And if you've made a career out of it, you've already burned up your lifetime pass. You don't get one. You don't get one. Let me tell you about how stupid Andrew Tate is. Andrew Tate is so stupid as hell. He put all his eggs in the basket of a bunch of white supremacists. Let's hear it for the Octoroon kids. Damn! And now, the very folk that he was sitting up here backing in favor of, he was supporting Trump. He was talking good about Ron DeSantis right up until they said, we don't want to fool with you. Now take a look at them. All the people that he broke bread with and all the people that he was big up and cheesing and grinning about, Those are all the people that said, yeah, we don't know this fella, leave him to his fate. Those are the people, not us. Let me be very, very clear about that, people. Ain't a black person gone after Andrew Tate. There's not a single black prosecutor, single black lawyer. Hell, I don't even think there's any single so-called black victims. I don't think there's a single black person who has done anything to Andrew Tate. So you should have kept our damn names out your mouth. It's Donald Trump and the very white folk that you were sitting up here booed up with. They're the ones throwing you to the dogs. That's the real issue. The very folk that you was booed up with, those are the ones now throwing you in the gutter. They're throwing you overboard. Them. These guys claim to be so damn smart and they didn't even know where to place their bets. They didn't even know where to do that. You see, if you had a community that fool with you for real and rock with you for real, it'd be different. You don't have that. So now as these things are drying up and y'all are losing your in and losing the shine of it, it's just going to be rough on you. It's just going to be rough on you. But he's not the only one. They're not the only ones. There's some other folks out there and whatnot who are finding out some things the hard way, by the way. And I like to put this out there as a teaching moment. Because we've been having issues with solidarity. We've been having issues for the last 4-5 decades with solidarity, and it's not going very damn well for some people.
Okay, thank
Legal
you.
services.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my. Y'all, what they say here, hold this ankle monitor.
Damn!
Oh man.
Yeah, everything is okay. 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 They only put this one only.
He said they only put this one on me. Only. See how quickly they've fallen in line? Well, I mean, they only put this one. It's okay. It's okay. They only put this one.
Yeah, everything is okay. 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 They only put this one.
Y'all, is he wearing a damn Santa Claus t-shirt?
Nigga, what?
Okay. Oh, the shirt, the pants, the shoes, I can't take it.
It's okay. 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 They only put this one. This one only. Okay. After everything is okay.
Auntie, chill! Damn!
Oh man, bring your auntie, bring your grandma. We throwing ankle monitors on every damn body through here. Man, look here. They got an open air penitentiary going on. Get your granny over here. Get on over here. That's right. She can go to church with this ankle monitor on. That's what she can do.
For black people, shackles have a meaning that most of us as white people don't understand.
Okay, now we got to get the Haitians to understand that, because we've had a failure to communicate for the last 5 decades. So we're trying to get the Haitians to understand what that means, because they've kind of fallen out of comprehension of that in recent years. They think they're on the colonizer's side.
But this brings back the feeling of being enslaved.
It's okay.
No, sir, I don't agree with that. Old boy right here just told you it's okay.
Did they
Yeah,
try
everything
ankle
is okay. Okay.
Okay.
They on.
He just told you everything is okay.
Did they
Yeah,
try
everything
ankle
is okay. Okay.
Okay.
They only put this one. This one only.
All right, so, sir, I disagree with your characterization of that. According to him, everything's sweet.
People don't understand. But this brings back the feeling of being enslaved.
It's okay.
And I have beautiful children and teenage girls who attend my church.
Okay, so, in other words, he gets paid. That's what you mean. So, in other words, you make a little scratch off of that. So, as long as you're getting something for it there, he's got a little soft spot in his heart as long as he's getting something. Okay.
What's the feeling?
And I hate to think of what could happen.
What mean in Columbus? In Columbus.
With ice.
No.
Ice or port?
Antes.
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 Okay.
Antes. Yeah.
Ella vive en San Francisco y podría ser que ella pueda llamarte y hacer una entrevista por celular. Okay.
And as Haitians, we know that human rights is a thing in the 21st century, but it seems that it's not the case for the U.S. anymore. Actually, I really feel ashamed when I look at those mothers, those fathers, those young people.
Is he ashamed of Port-au-Prince is my question. Okay. He's talking about he's ashamed in Columbus, Ohio. I got a different question, sir. Are you ashamed back in Port-au-Prince? I need to find that one out. Can we discuss human rights in Haiti? Can we discuss that? Since you're very concerned about these things, it seems you're completely unconcerned about the soil you were born on. So I find it hard to believe that you are an honest broker, considering the fact that you are all too cowardly to maintain what you got there. So I find that to be too difficult to believe coming from you.
And I just have a picture on my phone of a 20 years old young man who just like graduated from high school, and they put that anchor monitor on him. So it's unbearable. It's really, I don't know, but this is insane actually. If I am open for any type of court hearing, I think that this type of treatment of putting an ankle monitor is just like trying to bring back the memory of slavery. People are not living on plantation anymore, and it's really a shame to see this administration is doing this to people.
Are they putting ankle monitors on you back in Haiti? Are they putting ankle monitors on you back in Haiti? If you're unhappy with the treatment here, by the way, how many ankle monitors are they putting on you back there? Because clearly you would rather be here with the ankle monitor than someplace without it. So your credibility is shot.
Actually, one of the things with Haitians, they do not like to hide because they know that they're not doing anything.
Oh, y'all. the scam and backstabbing culture. In case you didn't hear him, he said the thing about Haitians is that they do not like to hide because they're not doing anything. And by definition, their violation of temporary protected status literally means that they're hiding. It literally means that. So basically, talking to a lot of these folks is just talking to scammers and liars right in your face. And they will sit there and talk forever because their whole goal is to try to run out the clock. When you stop talking and just start saying, okay, get your ass on the train over here, we're done talking, that's really the only real option.
And this is one thing for us. When you're hiding, you send the signal that you've done something wrong. And this is why you see that they're not afraid to show up, because they know that they have the right to appear before a judge, and the government has the full power. If they want to deport them, they can go ahead and do so. After a court hearing, they can decide that they don't want to keep them here anymore. They can still do whatever they want to do with them, because they might be afraid to go back to Haiti, but at the end of the day, they know that they have not committed any crimes.
You've committed a crime by breaking into the country, sir. So, yeah, there's that. Remember, when you allow them to freeload, they don't tell you that they are grateful. They tell you that you owe that to them. And then you understand that that's the lack of principles that got them where they are in the first place. That's the lack of principles that ended them up where they are in the first place. So if you want to know how it's going over there on the other side, it's going like that. It's been better. It has definitely been better. But that's how it's going over there on the other side. And I just don't feel like they got a lot to teach me in that regard. I really don't feel like they got a lot to teach us here. Not in that regard. I just don't see it. I don't see it. I'd have a lot more confidence and a lot more faith if they would sit up here and show us where we getting something popping. I mean, that carries weight to me. That would, right there. But this idea that we're not going to do anything and we're just going to sit right here and freeload and they've contributed nothing to the pot as far as what we're getting done. And okay, but this day and era where all we're doing is letting folks feed off it, and then there'll be the same folk coming back in a few years voting Republican, by the way. These will be the same folk coming back in a few years talking about their voting Republican. And they'll be the same ones doing that. That's the issue that we have. They'll be sitting up here talking about we're going to go vote Republican with these folk. Then what? Everybody waiting for us to come to the rescue. It's a different matter. Oh yeah, one more thing. Let me show you one more thing. Just in case y'all thought that, well, Jason, that was just one post from Sneeko. No. Oh, no. No, just in case you thought that was an isolated incident. No. He's been active today to let you know that, by the way, they now want to turn over a new leaf. You can read what the caption is he put on that. You can see there he's telling you, imagine Elon Musk's X if this terrorist was brown instead of your average magatard groiper chud. So wow, okay, that's new. That's new. You can tell when they're done with their non-white flunkies. You can tell when that happens. It's like, oh, they all of a sudden, all the stuff that they were saying before, and they flip like a light switch all of a sudden. It's like, well, I'll be damned. Nothing has changed about them. There's the real issue. The issue is, wait a minute, nothing has changed about them. They're exactly the same. These are the exact same people that you were stomping for all this time. They haven't changed. They are doing exactly the same right now that they've always been doing. The question is, why have you not been talking about this all this time? Why haven't you sounded like this all this time? Because they have sounded like this all this time. So this isn't anything new from them. So why is this a problem now? MAGA is a problem now? The Groypers are a problem now? They're a problem now. They're an issue now, today. But they haven't been an issue the entire time that they were out here doing this stuff. They weren't an issue this whole time. Everything was good. Everything was good. Okay. All right. It's hard to try to flip that back around, man. It's hard to do that. It's difficult to do that. Let me make sure about, as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and get something up for y'all here right quick. I want to go ahead and document this while I have an opportunity to do so. While we have an opportunity to go ahead and put all the documents together in one place and in one video and do it like that, I just want to show you, just wait long enough. Just wait long enough. Folks talk big and folks talk loud at the very beginning there, but just wait long enough. Just wait long enough and eventually you'll see the real damn thing comes out. I need to remind y'all, remember, anybody remember this video right here? I'm about to say, dude, this thing's changed quick, didn't it? Anybody remember this video right here? Damn! Oh, okay. So the Groypers and them are bad now. Hey, there you are sitting, booed up right next to Nick Fuentes. Let me turn the music off there. But, that's your mans. You cheesing big. That's your mans. Yeah, the Groypers and stuff, that's your dude sitting right next to you. Y'all look pretty buddy to me. Now they're a problem? Now they're a problem. They're an issue now? Because when y'all was over there on the incel bus, it wasn't like that. So I'm like, okay, that must be some other Nick Fuentes. Yeah, because y'all were all sitting up here, having an incel jamboree. So I just couldn't help but notice. Oh yeah, this didn't age very well at all. Oh, this didn't age very well at all. Okay, but they're a problem now. He wasn't a problem here. The Groypers and stuff, they were not a problem here. They're not a problem here. Okay. Oh, Nick and the Groypers, they're a problem now, but just a few months ago, they weren't a problem. Matter of fact, they were great. All right, I'm just checking. Just checking. Just making sure we got everything together there, because folks will say that we're making this stuff up. Well, no, our memories are long. Our memories are long, and we're not indicting anybody for anything they didn't do. We're only keeping track of what they did do. And if they have the idea, well, don't worry, we'll just let the heat die down, and then we'll forget about this, and we'll come back to this later. No, we're just going to go ahead and keep up with this, and we'll archive it. We'll be back. We'll be back, and we'll archive it. We'll archive that. We'll go ahead and archive that. They're worried and they're scared for a reason. By the way, I don't mean to kick a dead horse. I don't mean to do that. However, I was going to play the video of Roland Martin and him saying that black folk need to vote for James Tallarico. I was going to play that video there. I think I'm going to just skip that for tonight because he's going through so much. So much is happening. He's going through so many things. So many things. But I just thought I'd take a moment to talk about that. One more thing. I got a question because I did see something here. You all can tell me whether or not this is real. You all can tell me whether or not this is real. I'd be remiss if I didn't discuss this here. Woman buys 22 acres of land in Hanover, Jamaica.
It is official, and we have signed the sale agreement for this beautiful 22 acres in Hanover, and we are starting to just do some light clearing and not bringing in any heavy machinery. Just trying to figure out the lay of the land right now so we know where to build our ministry, and I'll take you on a little tour.
To build our ministry. Wow. Christian missionaries? Folks, they're not even running a new game plan. They're not even doing that. They're not even running a new game plan, folks. This is the colonizer playbook from 500 years ago. This isn't even a new one. This is the same old one.
Heavy machinery. Just trying to figure out the lay of the land right now so we know where to build our ministry, and I'll take you on a little tour. I'm sweating like crazy. It is hot, and walking through the woods is hard work. Wanted to bring you guys to the pond that's in the center of the property. Right now the water's low again. We've got that pond, and then over here we actually have another one. I'll show you.
All right. Well, don't jump to any conclusions, Jason. How do you know? What's the problem here? I can hear the coons tuning up their banjos as we speak. Let's go ahead and ease on down to the comments section here. Let's ease on down to that. Well, first of all here, it says, you make jokes about Hanover not existing and being the forgotten parish. You say country is undesirable and pack up in Kingston like sardines. You complain about Jamaica and want to migrate. You would rather buy a car instead of land, then outraged when people want what you don't appreciate. Okay. See the caption here from Miss Mecca Million? She's got her Jamaican and American flag, dual citizen, artist, Christian, retired fashion model. What does she do for money then? Beach Bunny, reparations now. What? Okay. All righty then. All right, let's go down here and see what they say. We got another Jamaican female here. Minister of State Juliet Cuthbert, National Security and Peace. That's right. When you're being colonized, talk about peace. Member of Parliament, St. Andrew West Rural, Olympic medalist. They love talking about their damn titles. You're losing the land under your feet, but go ahead and brag about your titles, folks. The same playbook century after century. Best response. So many Jamaicans get outraged, never ever seeing the bigger picture of what they can do. It is always what they can't and not understanding why they can't. With that mindset, they won't. I say emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Kudos to Jamaica's first black millionaire in the 1870s.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
Rise, black people, rise and stop hating. This guy here, this is powerful. This is powerful. All right. Okay. Sure. So many Jamaicans get outraged. Basically, the African Jamaicans that didn't get nothing but slavery and an undermined economy. The same outraged Jamaicans seeing another wave of indentured servants from America, not China, India, Ireland, Germany, coming to Jamaica to reap again. I mean, but y'all are all sitting in damn New York and whatnot. They're sitting there doing that. So while you're fleeing to America, you gonna get mad you fell for the damn bait? You're fleeing to America, and white folk are over there buying up dozens of acres. They bought up your entire coastline. And your response is flee to America. Last one out, turn off the light. I never hear about any crime in Hanover. Okay. You don't think that's a problem? Because I think that's a little bit of a problem myself. Actually. They should have a bit more to show than that. No disrespect to anybody. No disrespect at all. How much longer you think Jamaica gonna have? I submit to you it's already done. Quite frankly. I submit to you it's already done. Some folks may not like that. I understand it, but if you want me to go ahead and give you an update on that, I submit to you that it's already done. You see, one of the things that has to be delineated is the mindset. The mindset and the mentality has to be delineated also. You see, when you have it in your mind that I don't have to stand up for Jamaica because I can flee to Britain or North America. So who gives a damn what happens to Jamaica because I can always flee. I can always flee. I can always run. So who cares what happens to Jamaica because I can always run. That's the part of the story that folks ain't talking about, is that they believe they can always run. As I said, what happens when you can't run anymore? What happens when that occurs, when you can't run anymore? What happens when those weapons won't work? What happens when running is no longer an option, or you can run, but where the hell are you running to? I'm just asking a simple question there. What happens when that occurs? Well, they're about to find out is what I'm saying. They're about to find out exactly what happens when you do that. So, what's going on in Jamaica? It's over at this point. It's over.
It is.
And by the time we have this conversation in another 100 years, they will be talking about what the white folk have done inland. Now, we all know the colonizers' playbook. We all know the colonizers' playbook. So we all know what happens here first. The first thing they do is they send some white people there. They do not send their armies. They send the good white Christian missionaries. While they are just good salt of the earth people, they're just here to spread the love of Jesus Christ to you savages. I mean, you locals. They didn't bring any weapons, not that they're telling you about. They would just like to spend time with your children to teach them about the love of Jesus. And now, after they've built their church, well, you see, they may be in Jamaica now, but after they build their church, they start feeling a little homesick. So now that they built their church, now that you've been so generous as to allow them to build their church, they would now like to just build a small store. You know, so that they can bring some of the consumer goods that they're used to back where they come from. You see, they didn't come here to integrate and become one of you. They've come here to bring their ways to you. So now that they built their church, they a modest church, they'd also like to build a modest store. And of course, you are more than welcome to be their customers. Of course you are. Well, now that we have built our place of culture and worship, the church, and now that we have begun our place of commerce, the store, why, I know we told you that we were only building one house, but you see, on 22 damn me acres, there's plenty of room to build a school. What? And as a matter of fact, we can build some local apartment housing for our people. You know, our other folk that we're bringing from America with us. No, not for you and yours. On this 22 acres, that's way too much for a church, for a single building. So you see, when you buy that much land, oh, you got plans that are way bigger than a church. 22 acres? Oh, that's way bigger than a church. Way bigger. So now we got our church. Now we've got our store. Now we're going to start building some houses. And then, of course, we have to make sure everything's okay with that. By the way, I want to put this in its proper context for you all. If you all want to be able to wrap your minds around how many acres of land that is that they got there, long story short, the average Walmart supercenter, and that is complete with the parking lot, not just the building, but the entire plot of land that the average Walmart supercenter sits on, is between 20 and 30 acres. Let me say that again. The average Walmart supercenter, the complete lot of land that includes the parking lot and everything else, not just the building, but the entire parking lot and the entire plot of land that they own, the average Walmart supercenter is between 20 and 30 acres of land. In the chat room, Manny Bruce said it well. The problem is, and listen very carefully here, Miss Juliet Cuthbert Flynn. Cuthbert Flynn. Okay. Hello, Miss Flynn. Wonderful Irish name. The problem is that if a black person wants to buy property in Jamaica, the government officials and the locals will try robbing you blind by overcharging and doing shabby work. Same thing in Africa. Yeah, see, if black folks show up from North America, all of a sudden somebody comes up and they want to try to do something to mess up what you're doing. The white folks show up and everybody comes around dancing and singing and bringing free goodies. Hello, white daddy. Hello, white mama. So you see, first they start with their church, then they build a store, then they build some housing. But you see, now comes the next step, because you see, they brought a white woman with them. Why, she is their tender white rose out here in the middle of this Jamaican wilderness, even though it's all flat territory here. She's a white woman in the middle of this, so you see, now comes the last step. Should someone do so much as harass one single hair on her blonde white head, they will now call back not to the Jamaican government. Now, there's the real point. If something happens, and don't worry, I assure you something will, even if they have to make it up, they will call not to the Jamaican government where they're at. They will call back to their original government in North America and tell the North American government about all the terrible things that are happening to these American nationals in Jamaica. And that becomes the reason and the justification for the rest of the white government. Now we bring in the military. Now we bring in the militarized arm. Well, you see, we have to protect our people. Now that you've opened the door and let them in. Well, yes, we understand this is Jamaican soil, but now we have to protect our people. So now we need some security forces. No, you Jamaicans, we're not worried about you. Furthermore, we can't trust you. We'll take care of providing them their own security. Next thing you know, they're going to tell you, yeah, about that 22 acres of land. Sound like Israel? Well, we're not sure we can secure that 22 acres of land as it currently sits. We think that we need to expand the border of that because right now it's very insecure and there have been some problems. So it'd be a whole lot better if you all could just go ahead and expand this lot that we're sitting on so that we can ensure our security there, because the way it's currently situated, some of the harassers are able to get onto the lot and whatnot. And yes, we've built a fence and built gates and everything else, but yeah, we need to expand the lot and get it bigger to make it harder for folks to come over here and harass us. We need to do that now. And does anybody think that the so-called Jamaican government is going to lift a finger to stop it. However, here's the issue. The Jamaican government has no fear of its people because the Jamaican government knows that its people are far more inclined to run, far more inclined to cower, and far more inclined to bow to white supremacy. So there's the issue right there. The only thing that would have saved Jamaica is had they done what Marcus Garvey did. Damn! There is only one group of black people on this planet that has consistently had a culture of resistance and have been the vanguard against white supremacy in all of its little shady, duplicitous tactics, and the only group that has made any progress against them. Those are the only folks you can call to straighten this out. Instead, they have thrown the door open to these folk. They've thrown the door open. And they will brag and puff out their chests to anyone who will watch and listen about how great of a thing that is. And this is what's happened to your inheritance in the land. By the way, one more thing. You know somebody else who isn't saying a damn word in favor of Jamaica? Kamala Harris. What? Damn! Yeah, Kamala Harris hasn't had anything to say either, now has she? Isn't that very interesting? Now, she's had plenty to say about Asia. Not a syllable to say about Jamaica. Now, you've got all these white supremacists here in America, all the way from the President of the United States, Donald Trump, to Matt Walsh and others, Tucker Carlson and others, talking about Europe. What's happening in Europe? You're letting in too many non-Europeans. Europe. Do you hear the Jamaicans talking about the necessity of the sovereignty of Jamaica? See, here's the issue that I have. The issue that I have is that you can go ahead and put on a flag, and you can put on some flag draws, and you can put on some flag bikinis. You can go ahead and do that. You can go ahead and put on them things and do that. You can go right ahead and do that. You can put on all that stuff. That doesn't impress me. And what doesn't impress me about that is, and no disrespect here, that has no value to me. It's not valuable to sit up here and talk about how great white folks are doing on Jamaican soil, and in the meantime, not a word being said about what you're doing with it yourselves. That's the issue. That's not a flex. That's not a flex. They should have been gotten in touch and things. They should have been doing this decades ago. What I'm saying is you watch these things, you watch these years fall off the calendar. You watch it fall off the calendar, and then what? Now you've lost the most precious commodity of all time. You've lost the time. It doesn't do any good to complain about what they're doing over there. What is your solid plan and program to make sure that the people and the soil are able to take advantage of these things and the resources? Oh yeah, and one more thing, it wasn't lost on me what she said about they say that there's a natural spring here. What I'm telling y'all is that, do you understand how much that would cost you in the United States? By the way, I'd be curious to know how much she paid for that. But do you know how much it costs you in the United States to have, wetlands like that? Now, don't get me wrong. In a lot of places, wetlands in the U.S. cost a lot less because environmental regulations restrict what you can do with the land if the land has wetlands. However, in Jamaica, I'm pretty sure the white folk get more liberal deals. Oh, that's another thing. While I'm saying this tonight, that's another thing. To some of my real estate agents and brokers, and even some of you who may have built some stuff, you all do know that in places like Florida, white developers get wetlands, what's called either remediation or exemptions.
Nigga, what?
Nigga, what?
Nigga, what?
Yeah, one more thing. In Florida, where you all have been told that you got wetlands all over the place and, oh, you can't do anything in federal government this and federal government that, I just thought you all should know that for white developers there, in case you've ever wondered, they actually apply for either remediation. They submit a plan to the state and the Army Corps of Engineers to see if they can get an exemption for the wetlands and develop on it. So even in an area that's considered wetlands, and by the way, for those of you who are not aware of what a wetlands is, a wetlands literally means that you may own your property, but you do not own any running or standing water that does or is prone to run through your property. What? For those of you who are not aware what wetlands is, wetlands doesn't mean that there's a standing pond all year. Wetlands literally only means, is there water that runs through or stands on your property? That is under the authority of the U.S. government and the state government. So you see, if you have a pond on your land, you can't just go in and do whatever you want to with it. If there's a pond or a stream, you cannot change or divert the running of the water. Well, I own the land, correct, but the water and where the water runs is under the authority of the government. So you see, if you have a pond or a stream, even if that stream does not run 365, in case you didn't know, even if the stream is not active or running 365 days a year, because it's only a certain number of months, it just has to be prone to do it, and only a certain number of months it has to do that. It does not have to be a continuous stream or a babbling brook 365. It does not. For those of you who did not know what the Wetlands Act is, if you didn't know what the Wetlands Act is and what the Wetlands Act says, it says that, yeah, if you have water running on your property, a stream, a brook, when it rains, do you have a ditch in your backyard that water runs through when it rains? Well, you can't disrupt the natural flow of the water. No, you may not be able to. Fishing on it, it depends. Remember, now that the government has authority over the water, they've also got authority over species. So you see, if the water on your land is prone to a certain species of fish, yeah, they might be able to tell you you can't even fish in it. Depends on what it is. So you see, in the state of, I'm saying this for folks who understand, in the state of Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, but particularly, I'm going to name Florida because Florida's got a lot of activity going on down there right now. And Florida is a place that's infamous for having large tracts of land that appear to be relatively cheap for Florida. But the catch is there's a wetlands on it. Florida is just littered with wetlands. A lot of folk want to develop, but they don't want to go off into the boondoggle of a wetlands. So what white developers can do, wetlands are not invincible or immovable. You can actually apply to have an exemption for that. Case in point, Disney World. What? Universal. Damn. Brightline. What? They got huge projects that they are currently underway. Now, you know you can't go a good 100 feet without running into something that qualifies as wetlands in Florida, and yet these folks are able to expand 100, 200 acres. Well, that can only happen if you are exempting them from wetlands regulations. So they submit a plan saying that they want to alter this wetlands. So Universal, with their big expansion that they're doing, Disney, which is always expanding, SeaWorld, and all these sports complexes, Miami, and all the building they're doing there. Yeah, Fort Myers, and you just go down the list. Go down the list. So they will tell you what you can't do on the land because it's wetlands. But if some white developers show up, all of a sudden they're going to tell them, okay, well, here's how you get around that. With a lot of folks thinking that if it's wetlands, it's just nothing you can do. For the right folk, that's not so big of an issue. For those of you who are unaware, don't believe me, you can Google it. Although I've got some realtors in here, some folk who are familiar with realtors and development. They know I'm telling the truth. But if you don't believe me, just think about it for a few moments. How could Disney do its expansions like it's doing, not done, like it's doing? And Disney World is on a swamp. But how could they do that in an area that has got a whole bunch of swampland? How could they do that when this is all wetlands? How can Universal be expanding right now when they're surrounded by wetlands? How can you have the mammoth amount of development that's going on all over the place if you're surrounded by wetlands? Oh, okay. Yeah, it's only wetlands for you. It's not wetlands for them. And so this 22 acres over there in Jamaica, what they actually would be is in a place that qualifies as wetlands. I wonder if they're actually going to be subject to that. You see, you're supposed to have sovereignty over your land for the people and their prosperity is what you're supposed to have. Is that a priority in Jamaica? And just to remind you all, you are dealing with a black nation. They can't blame this on, well, the white population is canceling out their vote. The white population keeps voting for MAGA. The white population listens to Fox News. They don't have that going on. Well, the white folk own the TV station and the radio station, and the white folk own the... You know what we have to deal with here, and we still been kicking ass? They don't have those impediments down there. They don't have any of that. And this white woman has shown up, come diddy bopping through like the gentrifiers in Philadelphia, and she's just as pretty as she please down there with it. I want you to understand she's as comfortable as she wishes to be going through there. That's the part you should be remembering. She's as comfortable as she wants to be. This is a lesson for folks out there. You got a whole bunch of folk putting up their Jamaican flags and their Jamaican flags on their timeline, and it's just like, okay. That doesn't do a damn thing when this shows up. So you have been warned. You have been warned. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. Let me send a shout out here to Mr. Cochran. Shout out here to Mr. Cochran over there on Venmo. Thank you very much for supporting the nice program here. We appreciate that. And if you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between. So click that subscribe button and notification button. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work at blackchannelfilms.com. I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's program. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.